when love turns into obligation, labeling your partner, and I'm gonna go with narcissist. Submitting to your husband. Triggers versus cognitive distortions, guys. Ooh, this might trigger you and put you into your own distortion. 90% of marriages fail when love turns into obligation, the slow burn of resentment. Welcome to the More Marriage Podcast, guys. And I want to open your eyes today.
Every day.
Every day. I think there's a few things I want to address real quick. There's a couple comments that came in the fan mail, guys. By the way, fan mail is not the best way to get a hold of us. We can't really address 52 messages that came in the last week on a podcast. You know, we've tried to do that for you guys, but those episodes, they're really slow because it's your individual thing and you guys want everything we have to offer. But I want to address something here. Yeah, I know you want to hear Kathryn talk more, but see, Kathryn doesn't plan the podcast. So when she's ready to give a lot of insight, she will. Now, you were concerned that you wouldn't get to speak to Kathryn if you're in the white picket fence. That's absolutely not true, okay? We create and we deliver. We pour life into you when you're with us, and that's how it works. But this podcast is something that I come up with topics because I do most of this kind of work. And then when Kathryn wants to speak, she's going to speak, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
I'm glad you want to hear more from me, though. So get in my program. Get on my calls.
Very true. Now, I want to talk about this obligation thing because it's really important to understand. I'm just going to say it like this. You are fucking obligated. Why are you resentful? You signed up, man. Like, let's just pretend that we're not talking about marriage for a second, and you committed to, I don't know, a bowling league, okay? You are obligated to go to your event. That doesn't mean that you'll necessarily follow through. That doesn't necessarily have quite the priority, I would say, if I'm comparing to marriage.
Bowling league.
Yeah, well, I'm thinking bowling league, I don't know why, but like whatever the thing is, sometimes...
You can always back out, but you probably shouldn't. Like, you have an obligation to take care of your children. So what do? You fulfill that obligation. Otherwise, your children will not live through childhood.
Let's use that as such a good example because a lot of times, you know, and this is a great example for me particularly, I could be a little jealous of, say, Riddick and the relationship that he wants. I think Riddick thinks he's married to my wife, okay?
Riddick is our 4-year-old.
That's right.
In case you don't know.
And he... I could feel a little resentment, but I have an obligation there. Why would I get resentful? I have to dial that in. I have to manage my emotions. I have to connect with my wife. I have to connect with my son. And I have that obligation because I signed up.
I think it's so funny, side note, that men are jealous of their children.
Well, yeah, because we get greedy with you, right?
I know.
But here's the thing. But
I am your wife, his mama.
That is correct.
Yes.
I
Very
understand.
different types of love.
That's right. I want to talk about this because you guys do. You feel obligated and you do get resentful. This bitterness grows. It turns into contempt. And what you have to understand is what the real obligation is here. Okay, so if I say A, you're supposed to show up. You're obligated. You have vows. You're going to honor the integrity of those vows and your role as who you want to be. Okay, that's A. B, the obligation feels like a burden when it feels one-sided. What do we have to do there? We have to recognize that both of you have been more focused on your own needs. Both of you have been defensive. I've never met anybody who's done it all right. I've never met anybody. I know
Jesus.
That people learn, well, okay, Jesus, but you know, when you learn from our programs, let's say, you still make mistakes. It's still
we
easy.
still make mistakes.
Yes, it's still easy to
Well,
get...
you don't. You're perfect.
Oh, start. It's easy to feel resentment because your partner, say, doesn't even acknowledge you, okay? Doesn't want to talk to you, feels like they should just shut down from you. When they say mean things to you, I talked to a man today who's joining the program, is like, man, she says such mean things. I'm like, dude, have you ever said anything mean before? Like ever? Like you've just never made that mistake? You've never had a bad day and brushed her off? Like we can go on and on and on with examples. Why are you turning this into an obligation that causes resentment when you have to realize you also are a fuck up? I was, Kathryn was. It doesn't matter the level of fuck upness you have in your life and who's worse. Listen, nobody's freaking perfect. Okay? And so if we understand that, why are you taking it so personal?
Well, and I think that the difference here is, you know, when love turns into obligation, it is obligation, but it's when the obligation turns into resentment. You should know when you got married that you have an obligation. you shouldn't attach resentment to it. You are obligated to love your partner for better or for worse. Do you remember? You probably said that at some point. So the resentment comes, you're allowing the resentment in. Obligation goes without saying. You are obligated, right?
Yeah, but you could look at it. Let's use the common example, sex, okay? Like, yeah, there's jokes. We've all heard them. One vagina for the rest of your life is something that men would say at a bachelor party or right before the wedding, okay? And it's true. You're obligated to be loyal to that wife, even if she doesn't put out, quote unquote, okay? But likewise, you should also have, as a woman, be willing to be with your husband. Now, remember, that's the symptom that's breeding the resentment.
That's right.
Because you feel the obligation
to be connected.
That's right.
There would be no obligation to put out or no obligation to be with someone if she doesn't put out. If you were both obligated to the vows that you took, which is more about connection and all the foundational friendship stuff that you signed up for. The other stuff would still be happening if you had the foundational layers.
That's right. What I think you guys need to take from this episode is anytime you feel resentment, you need to realize that you are probably not showing up in a way that you are proud of. And that's simple. We talk about that all the time. If you ever feel guilty, feel ashamed, feel angry, all these stupid emotions that drag you down into the pits of shit and hell, then you're not doing something right, because this isn't dependent on someone else. You being who you are, you being better every day, you handling the strength that you have no matter what comes your way is all a you fucking problem. It has nothing to do with your partner. And if you understand that you're listening to this and you need to grow, then where's the fucking mercy? You should have way more obligation and a lot more mercy for your partner because you enabled it. The same guy on the phone talking about all the ways that his wife disrespects him, okay? But here's one of the major problems. They're a blended family, 20 years together, and she's never thought of him first. It's always the kids. I can get on board with that. I mean, I don't know if it's real, but I could understand. And I just said to him, so listen, for 20 years, she hasn't thought of you like the priority. Is that what you're telling me? He said, yes. I said, okay. So the very first time she made it about the kids and not you as the priority. Let's say holiday stuff. I'm making this up right now, okay? The bottom line is you said, that's okay, baby, they're your kids, right? Did you say something like that? He said, yes. I said, so you created the resentment that you don't like because in your obligation to be a good husband, you gave her permission from the beginning to prioritize the children.
And now you feel resentment over it when you enabled it from the very beginning.
Yeah, you see.
You don't get to resent her if you enabled the behavior that you didn't want.
Which is how it all works. You enable the affairs. You're the one who presents the opportunity for her to or him to go somewhere where it's safer or to go feel more loved because you didn't show up. That obligation problem that causes resentment is actually something, there's a piece in between. It's the leadership that you have not been able to provide structure for in the direction you want to go because you didn't have the skills. So what the fuck are you angry at someone else for? Like I just said to the guy, dude, no problem. I'm glad you want to join the program because now I'm going to be able to show you how to reverse that. Because just because you enable it for 20 years doesn't mean you can't make a change today that moves your tomorrow. You can start to show up in a way where she's clearly got to take care of these kids. These are like 27 and 32, I think.
So she doesn't actually need to take care of them.
She doesn't need to take care of them, but in her mind she does. She's still guilty. She wants to take all of the money and pour it into the children. Fuck holidays, blah, 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 blah. She needs help. Well, how can he do that? He can learn the skills to understand what she must feeling. That heavy guilt she's had from ever since the divorce, ever since tearing the family apart, ever since starting over with someone new. All of these things that were his problems that he's identified, that we dig deeper and we go further on. And those start to present the real issues. And the real issue is you don't have an obligation to her. You have an obligation to yourself to show up as a better leader because you have the life that you don't want because everything happens in your guys' life. Listeners, watchers, everything happens in your life because you made a choice. That's it. It's what you allow. That's it. And that's always skill-based. Everything. Right?
That's right.
You have anything you want to add?
Yeah. Back to the beginning when somebody is upset that I don't talk much on the podcast. Speaking of resentment, do you guys know that I didn't even want to do the podcast? We actually had a little bit of a tiff about the podcast because I was like, you go do the podcast. I don't want to. Now we're on what, episode
350 or
350, and I'm here every single time, you guys. So speaking of resentment, you should just be more grateful that I'm on here at all.
You're obligated as a listener. I'm
yes,
just kidding. That's
yeah, we're just joking. But I didn't even actually want to do it. And can you imagine if I didn't? That'd be crazy.
No, it's a massive part. I mean, we love you guys. Well, you guys who watch or listen to the show, like it's incredible because you're the ones who know us more intimately. That's why we always talk about this on the calls. We get to know you more intimately in person, even more. You know, I had somebody thank me again today, sent me a text message because they just love the event so much and us talking to them personally and blah blah blah. I
had someone text me a picture of herself in the merch. She's like, I'm just leaving the gym, click, and she's wearing the Morrow shirt.
I love it, guys. I love it. All right, guys. I hope that you got a lot of value from this because you can become a leader and that obligation can be good. It can be positive. And when you create the life that you want, the obligation doesn't feel painful. There's nothing to be resentful if you take responsibility for yourself. And guys, I really want that for you because you are the writers of your story. Or you can continue to create the chaos that you fucking hate. Okay?
Don't do that.
We'll see you next time.
Bye.